everybody, and welcome along to Donington Park. The opening round we've got coming up very shortly of the Woods Foodservice's Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup. Two races for them over the course of the day. They've got a busy season ahead as well, as they'll visit the likes of Brands Hatch and Anglesey, Alton Park, Silverstone, back to Brands, and they'll finish the season at Snetterton in Norfolk. But it's the first race of the season that's coming up for them. The cars are already on the grid. They'll be heading off on their formation lap shortly, but let's just introduce ourselves. Mark Werrell chatting to you now, and I'm delighted to say, joining me in the commentary box for this one is Piers Pryor. Piers, we've got a great weekend ahead.
Oh, it's going to be a great weekend, and great to be here alongside yourself, Mark. Looking forward to calling the action for all of the races we've got ahead of us today, but of course, Porsche Boxster Cup right now.
Yep, so this is Class 3, so there's three separate classes in the Porsche Club Motorsport Championship, so this is the Boxster Cup. They're racing solo here today. They may well join the other classes at other rounds, but they've got a separate race today to look forward to. The cars all qualified this morning. The reigning champion from the Boxster Cup last year has stepped up to Class 2, so we don't have our reigning champion on the grid, but we do have the runner-up from last year's championship on the grid, and he didn't qualify that well, actually, the number 6 car in the hands of Mike Thompson. So off they go on their formation lap, which means that it's time then to guide you through the way that they will line up for this first race of the championship season in the Woods Foodservice's Porsche Club Motorsport Porsche Boxster Cup. Let's have a look at the grid as they weave from side to side to try and build temperatures into their Pirelli tyres. Pole position went the way of Jonathan Lovell in qualifying, and it is his first pole position, actually, the former Renault Clio racer. Hopefully the graphic will come up very shortly. It will allow us to pick up on the way that the grid lines up. So it's Jonathan Lovell that's there on pole position, and it will be Tom Andrew that will sit alongside on the outside of that front row of the grid. Row 2 of the grid, driver that finished 9th in the championship standings last year, Sarah Thompson at the wheel of the larger yellow and red car, lines up alongside Vikram Sudera at the wheel of his Porsche, who did a part season last year. Faye Noble-Evans, who was in the championship last year, lines up on the 3rd row of the grid with Ashley White for company. And it's runner-up in the championship, number 6, Mike Thompson, on row number 4, that's got Jessica Wilkinson for company. Row 5 of the grid is Paul Watson and Phil Graham, with row 6 being comprised by Eric Bridges, and alongside is a name, or surname at least, that's very familiar with Porsches. It's Zoe Kyle Henny. We've seen plenty of the Kyle Henny family racing Porsches over the course of the last few years. And Sarah Wood lines up at the tail end of the field. 13 cars having qualified, Piers.
Yes, it's going to be a nice grid there with some new drivers, some experienced drivers, a lot of drivers that, as you said, have got some experience in Porsches, some back for another year. These are great cars. They look so much fun to drive, so well balanced, and it's a great championship to be a part of, and I'm looking forward to a good race here at Donington Park National Circuit.
It's a very affordable way. No motorsport is cheap. It's a very affordable way of going racing, and going racing in a Porsche as well, because there's not too much you can do to these Class 3 cars here. You're also very limited on the amount of tyres that you can use over the course of a championship season, so you've only got 4 front and 4 rear tyres that you can use throughout the whole course of the season. Everybody's on the same rubber as well, so in reality the specification of all of these cars in Class 3 is pretty much identical.
I love the championships where you've got sort of a set number of tyres for the season, because it makes it easier for the drivers ahead of the year to budget for the year. Of course, if there's crash damage, then that puts a little spanner in the works, but hopefully we'll see some clean racing today, and it means that not only are you saving money on tyres and you can't spend your way to the front, so to speak, but also maybe tyre management comes into it a little bit as well. So how you manage your tyres, do you keep a brand new set maybe for different conditions, different circuits, or do you eke them out? Maybe don't go, hell for leather straight from lap 1. It's interesting, and I like that sort of format, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out throughout the year.
And I like the way they balance the performance of the cars as well, because they're all powered by the 3.2 litre engine, but Porsche did produce different power outputs in the engine. So back in the early days of the Boxster, between 99 and 2002, it was sort of a 162 kilowatts of power. It slightly increased the power for the 2003 and 2004 models. So because they've got more power, it means in this race they run an extra 20 kilos in those cars. So it equalises the performance of all of the cars. So looking forward to see who's going to come out on top in what is scheduled to be a first 25-minute race of the season. So our fantastic Donington Park marshals are just leaving the grid. Sarah Wood lines up in the last position on the grid, and we'll get the green flag waved by the marshal off to the left-hand side of the screen, and then we'll be ready to go and get the 2023 championship season underway for the Woods Foodservice's Porsche Club Motorsport Porsche Boxster Cup. And last little car, just making sure it is bang on the marks, and then The revs will begin to rise. So green flag at the tail end of the field. 25 minutes are on the clock. We're about to get the 2023 Championship season underway. Jonathan Lovell on the left-hand side of your screen in the silver car with the red bumpers. Red lights come on, revs begin to rise, lights go out. Now we're away and racing. It's a great start from pole position. A really good start from Vikram Sudera from 4th on the grid. And I think Vikram Sudera is probably going to be leading as they head up towards Redgate Corner for the first time. The white car with its purple bonnet is going to lead the way, but the door is open for Jonathan Lovell to try and hang on to the lead of the race and squeeze his way through the inside of Redgate Corner. He has made it stick, and Vikram Sudera, after that really good start, has actually lost a place and has dropped back down to 3rd place because Tom Andrew has also gone through.
Yep, Tom Andrew's gone through there. Also saw a poor start from Thompson. He's now down towards the back of the field. It looks like he's dropping backwards. I don't know if there's been an issue off the line there, but let's see if he comes back up through the first lap.
Yeah, let's just have a quick look. Looks how everybody's safe through the first corner. The fast starting number 66 of Vikram Sudera, or Vic Sudera as he's known, is back down there now in 4th position. But for the lead of the race, Jonathan Lovell is already starting to see in his mirrors is Tom Andrew. Tom, who we've seen out racing Morgan's in the past, a little bit sideways on those cold tyres. Lots and lots of oversteer, but beautifully gathered up here since he went through McLean's. Yeah,
hitting that curb, of course, McLean's off cam, but you touch that curb, it can easily unsettle the car, and a handful of opposite lock there from the second place driver. Managed to save it just about, but lost a little bit of time to the leading driver.
Yeah, so down the straight and in towards the braking area for the Roberts chicane. Now we'll go around the Donington Park National Circuit this weekend. So they'll brake, they'll turn right, they'll turn left, they'll try and avoid cutting too much curb there and running through the gravel, which is what happens when you lose a little bit of momentum coming in towards the corner. Good overtake there. That was Eric Bridges, who dived up the inside of Sarah Thompson, who qualified 3rd quickest, did Sarah Thompson with the number 90 car, but that yellow and red car has rather gone backwards down to 7th at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, it's really not a good start. And these cars, of course, they have a decent amount of power, and you can get in the clutch slip and bite point, and then when you change gear, being manual as well, it's very easy to miss a gear, and then it's such a tight field, it's going to drop you down the order quite quickly, and hopefully we'll see her work her way back up through the field.
So Andrew Lovell leads at the end of the first lap. Whilst it was quite close between himself and Tom Andrew at the top part of the circuit, by the time they'd come over the start-finish line, the lead advantage was just over a second, as you can see. Now, all of these cars are running in the same class, so the way the points work, it's 25 points for a race win, it's 21 if you're second, it's 18 if you're third, and so on. It diminishes. There's an extra point for pole positions. That's already going the way of the race leader, Jonathan Lovell. There's also an extra point for fastest lap as well in this race, which in the early stages of this one is also going the way of the number 21 car.
Yeah, Lovell had a sort of a bit of a slower start on the first lap, but then he wanted to make sure he maintained his leading position for the first lap and dived up the inside of Redgate. Of course, a very open entry to the start of the lap, but so we can see the cars further down the field closing up somewhat here.
Yeah, that's Paul Watson at the wheel of the number 77 car, who is coming under pressure. Eric Bridges at the wheel of the 38. The purple and the green car sneaks up the inside of Mike Thompson, so that is place gained again. So up to 7th place now for Eric Bridges, who started 11th, so that's not bad progress. 4 places gained on the first couple of laps.
That's very good progress in the first couple of laps. I must say the circuit still looks a little greasy through that little national chicane now. I can see the cars moving around at what is not normally the sort of the speed you'd expect them to be moving so much. So not high track temperatures today. Potentially the tyres just taking a while to come in. These aren't particularly heavy cars, so not a huge amount of energy going through the tyres.
Yeah, the cars are largely around 1350 kilos, 1370 if it's one of the more powerful engines. But yeah, 1350 kilos to 1370 is the weight that all of these cars will be running as a minimum. So they have to have that minimum weight when they come over the start-finish line and head onto the weighbridge potentially at the end of the lap. Well, we're on lap number 3 at the moment, and the gap first to second looks as though it has remained reasonably steady at the moment. Very much on his own now in 3rd place is Ashley White, but Vic Sudera there in 4th place. Look in his mirrors, he's got that black and pink liveried car, which you can't mistake, is Faye Noble Evans, who is asking him a few questions regarding 4th place at the moment.
Yeah, definitely applying some pressure. The lap time's so close. I mean, the 4th, 5th, 3rd, 4th, 5th, all within a couple of tenths, and you can see them on circuit still very close. We saw that move last lap into the chicane. Are we going to see it once again from the number 38? That is, of course, Bridges. No, not quite this time, not quite close enough, setting up potentially for a move into Redgate. The good thing about Donington Park is you can pretty much overtake at every corner around here if you set it up correctly.
It's a quick circuit, but it's still, yeah, as you say, offers some overtaking opportunities. Now Eric Bridges is trying to sniff one of those out. He's sitting right behind Paul Watson. I thought he might try and jink to the inside late on, but he's a bit too far away. He's decided just to keep his powder dry for the moment, Piers.
That's a move you quite often see into Redgate, isn't it? Feigning to the left-hand side. I'm going to go around the outside, last minute diving in. And I quite like Redgate gate for that, because it does offer different opportunities to overtake inside and outside. And then, of course, after, you've got the long run down the corner, so it isn't always finished straight away.
It looks as though the gap first to second is coming down, because Tom Andrew, as he picks his way through and past Sarah Wood's back marker car, is closing in on the race leader. Now, the reason for that is last time through, Tom Andrew in second place, the 07 car, set the fastest lap of the race we've seen so far, 1 minute 20.601. That was 0.6 of a second quicker than Jonathan Lovell. So the gap for the lead is coming down, and John Lovell will, for the first time, be starting to maybe feel the pressure, and he's going to have to soak up this pressure for a huge amount of time, because we've still got 19.5 minutes to go as they complete lap number 4.
Yeah, not a long lap around here, only 1 minute 20-second lap time, so we've got looking at sort of probably 15 more laps, and to hold off that for all that time would be quite difficult. It looks like that the tyres are coming up differently. In Lovell in the lead, maybe potentially just getting up to temperature a bit quicker, but Andrew in second place just looks like he's coming on a bit stronger as the laps go on. The last lap in second place from Andrew was 0.4 faster than the leader, with a 20.6 as opposed to Lovell's 21 flat.
Yeah, Tom Andrew, who I've seen, say, racing Morgans for a very good period of time, and in fact his Morgan is very similar, sort of spearmint blue colour. Here, getting the overlap surely is Eric Bridges this time. Yeah, Paul Watson running a little bit wide coming out of Redgate corner. Thank you very much, says Eric Bridges, and he's able to sneak his way through. They've also got the back marker to deal with, Sarah Wood, who is travelling a little bit slower than the rest, but is doing the sensible thing of staying out of the way. She's using her mirror, she's looking at the blue flags displayed by the marshals and staying well and truly out of harm's way. Yeah,
the safest thing if you're a back marker to do is always just be predictable. Choose a line, whether it's on the racing line or off the racing line, but just be predictable. Make it obvious where you're going, because it's when lanes start changing that issues can arise. But Wood doing a great job of making sure that everything is safe there.
So Paul Watson is still just about hanging on to his position at this stage. It looks as though closing right up behind him is Mike Thompson. Now, the 06 car in the hands of Mike Thompson was the runner-up in the championship last year. He's been a competitor in Class 3 for the last few years now. In fact, he's 2 times runner-up, is Mike Thompson, because not just in 2022 was he runner-up, he was runner-up in the 2020 championship season as well, and he's still only running down there in, what's that, 7th, 8th position at the wheel of the number 6 car at the moment. There is one car out there with a transponder not working at this stage, so that's why the order is not quite right on our timing screen, because I think the number 77 car of Paul Watson isn't recording as it comes over the start-finish line.
Yeah, so the timing stewards will be doing as well as they can to keep that car updated in position, but the lap times on the live time might not be quite as accurate as they are, but still going at it. Watson looking very strong in that number 77 all black Porsche Boxster, keeping the pressure on number 38 after that move we saw earlier on.
Yep, and down through the Craner curves they'll go. Well, they're on lap number 6 at the moment. Eric Bridges, having qualified in 11th position, is now up into what is 6th place, but is going to have to try and hang on to that 6th place. He's got the number 77 car of Paul Watson right behind him, who has now been slotted into his appropriate 7th place on the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see that Mike Thompson, who had fallen away a little bit. Now, Mike Thompson, the number 6 car, seems to fall away at one part of the circuit, but they get to this section, he's right back with them again.
It's very interesting to see how the pace ebbs and flows as they go down the circuit. This middle sector seems very strong for Thompson in that distinctive sort of Porsche factory style livery. And I love that livery on any Porsche, so it's great to see in the Boxster Cup that someone is sporting that too.
Yeah, it's good to see a few seasons ago when Class 3 first came out, and all of the cars were encouraged to be prepared by Porsche dealers around the country, and the basis of the championship was to try and paint it in a classic works Porsche colour as well, from the Group C era and prior. So in towards the old hairpin go our leading pair, still fighting away now. Tom Andrew last time through, the second place number 7 car, the new fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 20.043. He's not going away, is he?
Definitely not going away. However, Lovell in the lead has picked up the pace somewhat. Last lap 20.0 as well, so the gap is stable. They're lapping faster and faster every single lap, and it's pretty much a 2-horse race for the lead now, with White in 3rd place, now 13 seconds back. But these two, I hope they can keep going at it until the end of the race. It'd be good to see a nice close battle all the way through.
Yeah, it really would be, and I think that's exactly what Tom Andrew wants. He's just, I think for the moment, he's content just to sit there, isn't he? And maybe just work out, if you're the driver, if you're Tom Andrew at this stage, you've got the same pace to catch and just sit with that race leader. Do you just sit behind Piers? Would you do that for a few laps and work out where the chink in the armour is and where you have that advantage?
when you know you've got a longer race, as these Porsche Boxster Cup races are, they are 25 minutes, of course, having a look at the inside of Redgate corner there, maybe just feeling to see how Lovell is going to react, whether he's going to defend hard or whether he's open to it. We've had a swap further down the field.
We have, by the look of things, yeah, Mike Thompson had managed to get himself ahead of Paul Watson, but Paul Watson has other ideas about that and is able to work his way back through again, but then outbrakes himself, has to get onto the brakes and avoid the gravel trap, and yeah, he was just too late on the brakes. He was too keen to try and get the place back, Piers. Yeah,
very, very late on the brakes then. Managed to just keep it out of the gravel trap, helpfully indicating left to show where he was going for the driver behind. I think that was more in panic than in helpfulness, but yeah, that's unfortunately cost Watson some time.
Yep, so Mike Thompson, the runner-up in the championship last year, now having gained. There goes Sarah Thompson. Now, that's the car that qualified in 3rd place, but had a poorish first lap and is running around in, 7th position now, because she's also picked up a place by the look of things as a result of Paul Watson, having run wide. So Sarah having a bit of a quiet race, having qualified so well. It's such a shame that, for whatever reason, it came a bit unravelled just on the very first lap.
Yeah, potentially that car might be a little bit hobbled, potentially either a gear selection issue maybe, because she dropped down the field quite quickly on down the Craner curves and hasn't really shown that pace that she had in qualifying. So anyway, let's hope the car sort of rights itself during this race, but if not, she'll be back to full strength for the next race later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Got another 25-minute race later on. Now, Jonathan Lovell pushing hard there. You can see the car just running out onto the curbs, and a small little twitch as he was on the throttle as quickly as he could be to try and propel the car through Hollywood and then down through this daunting section at the Craner curves, onto the brakes, throw it in towards the right-hander at the old hairpin. It's called a hairpin, Piers, but it's a quick corner.
It's absolutely not a hairpin. Maybe it was a hairpin in the olden days, but I don't know. But it's a very quick corner. I imagine in these cars probably just a brake down one gear and carries much speed to the apex as you can. Track limits, of course, are always a factor around Donington Park because a lot of the corners are off camber, fast, medium speed corners. The exit McLean's there. You can see the green tarmac. There are sensors, I believe, which log whether you have run wide. Same with the old hairpin, and do that too many times and that can have a time penalty added to your race. As far as we're aware, we haven't had too many penalties or warnings for that so far, but the leader's still lapping at the same pace. We look further down the order, number 28 and 33 going side by side through Redgate.
Yeah, that is at 28 is Phil Graham, who is desperately trying to weave his way through past Jessica Wilkinson, but Jessica wasn't having any of that and just made sure that she hung on to the place. So looks as though that battle is going to continue as we've got change for the lead potentially.
Change for the lead, yeah, going up the inside there. Andrew is holding. Managed to get the inside line into Redgate. Lovell trying to go around the outside. It looks like the move has been successful. They're still going side by side down Hollywood and through the Craner curves. This is going to be bold. Can he keep it? Whoa, there's a big wobble there from the number 7 of Andrew as he goes down the Craner curves. Of course, the circuit drops away from you. Car goes light, plenty of curb on the inside. I imagine this fight is going to go right to the end of the lap.
And you have to trust the driver that you're racing with down through the Craner curves. It's a daunting place. You have to trust the other driver to go wheel to wheel. Yeah. You put your trust in each other, don't you? And the car as well that you're driving. But yeah, good stuff there. They've got more back markers just up the road to deal with. I think that's Sarah Wood who's going to be lapped for the second time. So could this be the catalyst for a bit of change? Tom Andrew, I think, briefly looking for the inside line at Coppice Corner, but the order still remains as was at the moment. Jonathan Lovell leading the way, Tom Andrew in second. Traffic to deal with as they head down the straight.
Lovell pushing very hard, taking a lot of curb through Coppice as well, so trying to carry as much speed down the straight as we now under pressure again once from Andrew, looking outside, looking inside into the final chicane of the lap again, as you mentioned. Wood in the lap Porsches. We've got a good exit, number 7 there. That is Andrew, who's managed to get a good exit out of the final chicane after Lovell went defensive. Can the back marker stay out of the way of this battle because they're going to and fro?
Yeah, up towards Redgate Corner, and Jonathan Lovell will be ruining that small mistake heading round through the Roberts chicane there, through the right and the left flick, but they've safely both got past the back marker as they went in towards Redgate Corner, so they can both press on again down through the Craner curves. We are only just past the halfway point of this race. Another big wobble midway through the Craner curves. You can tell these cars are on the very edge of adhesion. They slide the car round through the old hairpin, with Jonathan Lovell trying to get a good exit off the corner. Looks as though he's gaining momentum as they start to head uphill towards McLean's, but McLean's isn't an easy place in which to overtake.
No, it isn't, especially in cars like this where you've not got quite the high-speed grip of maybe a car with slicks and wings. The circuit can force you to the middle of circuit is you go left before you go right for McLean's, and that means that it kind of narrows it in. The better option is often to set up a move out of this corner, as it looks like 21 Lovell is doing there. He's going right underneath the rear of the car in the lead. We're going to see another move into the Robert chicane again.
Let's just have a quick look. He looks to be a little bit too far back at the moment, and now he's just going to, I think, hold station as they head in towards the Robert chicane. Tom Andrews still leading the way. Jonathan Lovell in almost the Martini-esque liveried car, sitting there in second position. Over the start-finish line they both go. There's more traffic to deal with as well that's just up the road, and that might be Phil Graham's car potentially. They're going to try and work their way past. Phil sees them coming, stays out of harm's way, and through they'll go.
Whoa, big slide for Lovell, and has he lost it? No, he's kept it just about facing the right direction, but unfortunately that is going to be that lead battle over, for, at least for now, as he collects it just about. You can see that he was pushing hard, taking a lot of curb in the middle of the lap, and just pushing slightly too hard on the exit of Redgate, potentially carrying the brake a bit too far into the corner, meaning the front had more grip than the rear, and he'll take a few corners to scrub those tyres off, as you can see the hands working inside the cockpit there through the windscreen.
Yeah, further down through the order, Jessica Wilkinson fighting away still with, that's Phil Graham behind her, so the car that they just got past at the other back marker would have been Zoe Kyle Henney then. So this is another little fight, but this is down towards the tail end of the field. For the final place inside the top 10, actually, at the moment, the blue car with the yellow roof is going to be Phil Graham, and he is looking to try and squeeze his way through and past Jessica Wilkinson. He's got the inside line, but he's just too far away to try anything as they head up towards Robert chicane. They are about to complete lap number 11.
Yes, looking for potentially a better exit, as we saw from the leaders last time out into Redgate, which is an easier overtaking opportunity. The Robert chicane, it's very fast. It's actually quite open. It's quite open through the middle of the corner with a short first apex, so you really have to be all the way alongside to effect a move into there. Redgate, you can go for a bit more of a dive, either inside or out, as we mentioned earlier on.
Sarah Thompson's car seems to be coming on stronger as the race wears on. That yellow car with the red flashes to it is now closing in on last year's runner-up in the Class 3 Championship, i.e. the Boxster Cup. So Mike Thompson, who qualified a little bit lower down than I expected and hasn't really put in the performance that I would have thought from the runner-up in last year's Championship. Maybe, you know, first weekend for everybody, blowing cobwebs away, might not have done any testing. If he was out yesterday, the weather was very different to it is today. So, yeah, not the best of weekends for him to start with, but, you know, he's keeping clean, he's having a good race, but I think Sarah Thompson's going to sneak through and takes the place away.
Yeah, but it looked like almost either it was a missed gear from the car behind there, either, because that move looked very, very easy. Thompson just blew past on the straight. I don't know whether she was let through or whether it was an issue from the car behind, but yeah, but it was a fairly standard move.
Yeah, maybe all isn't well, and therefore, yeah, what's the point in fighting if you're already struggling with a car that you just want to get to the end and get some championship points? So position lost there. Faye Noble-Evans going well. Beautiful livery on this car. It really looks absolutely fantastic, the livery on that Porsche. I was looking at it yesterday when I arrived at the circuit, and out on track, it's, you know, from a commentary perspective, it's the perfect livery because you can't mistake it.
There's no other car like that, is there? And the detail and intricacy on this car is great to see. Great to see how much pride that the drivers and the teams take in the look of the cars and the way they're presented. And as you said, makes our job much easier as well up in the comms box. So thank you very much for the team that have prepared Noble-Evans' car, because it makes our life very easy.
Well, there's a reason that they're all very well presented. A, because they're all very proud and it's a very good level of championship, but also there are extra championship points available. There's a further championship point awarded to every competitor that at the start of the meeting displays no damage to his or her car, and that is decided by the championship scrutineer or the deputy scrutineer. So there's championship points available if the cars are marked at the beginning of the weekend.
There you go. Just taking pride in your own Porsche Boxster is not only give you pride, but also can give you some nice points for the championship total.
You only need 1 point to win a championship, don't you?
You do, and sometimes even less. So
yeah, win it on countback. Yeah, you're tied on scores. Up through Redgate corner goes Eric Bridges. He's sitting there as the final car inside the top 6 at the moment as he weaves his way onto the top of Hollywood, and then he'll start to plunge his way down through Craner Curves, which is a fantastic part of the circuit. From there, when they get to the old hairpin, that's the lowest part of the track, really. The weather is due to be changeable over the course of today, so if it were to start to get a little bit damp and moist later on, the old hairpin is a tricky part of the circuit, as it would have been yesterday in testing when the weather was atrocious. Yeah,
very much so. You get a few rivers often coming across the circuit down the Craner Curves, which can make have some hairy moments.
And what about not this corner coming up, but Coppice corner? So this is McLean's corner that Eric's going through round now, but Coppice corner, blind entry, double apex right-hander, tricky one.
Very tricky. It's a very technical circuit, even though it's quite open generally, the Donington National Circuit. circuit. You've got a lot of elevation change, which makes it great fun to drive in any car, not just these Porsche Boxsters. But that corner, you have to commit to the turning before you're anywhere near seeing the apex. And there is a bit of curb on the right-hand side to save you if you turn in a little bit early, but you carry too much speed, the gravel and the grass comes up on you very, very quickly and can either cause you to have to lift out of the throttle and lose you lots of time, or it could even send you into the gravel and lose you time in that sense. And yeah, no one wants to be doing that. But it is great to have such an elevation change around here, and it's good to see that also the circuit has had continued investment from MSV with a full resurface over the winter. Yeah,
it really is. Yeah, watch Jonathan Palmer and his team do a superb job preparing all of the MSV circuits around the country generally. Vik Sudera there was held up a little bit as he met Zoe Carl-Henny in the wrong place. He had been closing in on the number 46 car of Ashley White's, which occupies third place, but that just cost Vik Sudera a little bit of time as he didn't quite get the run through the traffic compared to his fellow competitor there. So Zoe Carl-Henny didn't do anything wrong at the wheel of the 23. It's just that Vic met her in the wrong place and couldn't quite weave his way through. So what was a gap beginning to close up for third and fourth has now unfortunately opened up again once more, and we're now into the final 4.5 minutes of this race. Where's the time gone?
It's flown by. And also we were speaking earlier on about good looking cars. Zoe Carl-Henny's car, actually, yeah. I'm really a big fan of this livery. I love the black and yellow is a safe choice, but the detail again that's gone into the preparation, whether they're wrapped or sprayed, I'm not sure, but it really looks great and stands out on circuit. And yeah, it's great to see such a colourful grid.
It is, yeah. Always good to see the Porsche Club Motorsport Championships out. Here is the car of Sarah Thompson trying to keep at bay the aspirations of Eric Bridges. Well, that's actually been a change of position by the look of things. Sarah Thompson was behind at the start of the lap, so she is at the moment trying to hold off the car that she's just taken the place away from, and by the look of things is pulling away from now, actually.
Yeah, again, it's a fairly long race actually for such a short circuit. So we've got 25 minutes of potentially maybe a bit of loss of concentration. We didn't see it on camera there, but it was definitely been a change of place there. But it's so easy to make a mistake at any of these corners, and it's a real challenge, Donington Park. And we've seen these drivers, the cars are moving around. They must be great fun to drive, but on that knife edge, it's so easy to just drop a wheel on a piece of grass or miss a gear. There's a lot to it, and part of the challenge of the Boxster Cup, of course, is the fact that it is all still manual. They're great fun cars to drive. They've got the weight that rolls around as well, which makes it, it feels really rewarding to drive from the drivers I've spoken to.
And it's a very, driving a Porsche, a rear-engine Porsche, is a very unique way of driving as well, because the car works differently, it has different characteristics, it reacts differently to what you're doing if you get on and off the throttle in the wrong place.
Of course, with the weight largely over the rear wheels, you've got a lot more momentum if the car starts rotating, as we saw from Lovell at turn one when he had that mistake. You just lose the rear a bit too much, and it makes it that much harder to just collect it up without losing so much time. But again, part of the challenge.
Yeah, you get the pendulum effect, don't you, sometimes kicking in. Here is Tom Andrew fighting his way through traffic. That is Paul Watson's car, I think, that he's looking to try and pull a lap on. Up towards Coppice Corner they'll go, that blind entry double apex right-hander. Grab the first apex, don't worry about the second, you're roughly in the middle of the track for the second, but Tom Andrew will want to try and clear this back marker as quickly as possible. He has built up quite a sizable advantage, considering the battle for the lead was so close earlier on. The mistake from pole sitter Jonathan Lovell was the leader. Was contact there. What was going on there, I'm not quite sure, but Paul Watson made contact with the race leader.
Yeah, big damage on Watson, the 7.7. He's got a rear toe link completely broken, so he's going to have to come in the pits. But that's really unfortunate. As a car on sort of a lap down, you really need to be just sort of staying out the way. A bit of a miscommunication there. That car is clearly hobbled, crabbing back to the pits, which is, I suppose, if you're going to have an incident in the last corner, it's probably the best place to have it. Hopefully that won't impact the race too much more, but yeah, really not great to see.
No, it's an unusual incident as well. Whether he just didn't see or maybe didn't realise they were fighting for position, but it got a little bit close when you wouldn't have expected it to.
No.
And thankfully, I think Tom Andrew has largely got away with that. That will have literally halved the lead advantage that he got. So it's gone from 6 seconds to 3 seconds. If he's got any damage on the car, then that might hamper his progress even further.
Yeah, I think probably 1 or 2 more laps now. But I was just before that incident about to say that Andrew at the front was setting the fastest laps of the race. He was about a second faster even than Lovell now, whether Lovell's just backed off, saving his tyres and thinking I'm in a solid second place now. But this has brought it back into potentially a fight for the lead if if there is any damage on the Andrew car, number 7.
I'm as we look at Faye Noble Evans heading down through the Craner curves, I'm keeping an eye on what the sector times are for Tom Andrew. First sector, he was about 0.6 of a second slower than Jonathan Lovell. Second sector, he is about 0.4 of a second slower, so the gap's going to come down to about 2.5 as they head on to the final lap of the race.
I mean, I say potentially he could be taking it easy knowing he's had that contact. However, he hasn't got a lot of breathing room. Maybe he knows he's only got 1 or 2 more laps, but that's generally when you're in the lead, you kind of want to just give the driver in second a thought that, oh, I'm never going to catch them, because that means it gives you the most breathing room. But this will definitely be like a red rag to a bull for Lovell as he's trying to get revenge for that mistake he made earlier on.
I said the gap was going to be about 2.5, didn't I? 2.524. I was 24 thousandths of a second out there, Piers. I need to up my game a bit, don't I?
It's almost like you know what you're doing, Mark. Almost.
I've done it once or twice before, you know. Jonathan Lovell, the body language of that car tells me he still thinks there's half an opportunity here, because he was pushing on. I don't think he's absolutely settled for second at the moment, and you just never know. You know, one small mistake and all of a sudden, you know, we could have the lead battle. But we're running out of corners now. There's only a couple to go. Yeah,
he will have seen that coming together down the back straight past the exhibition centre. So he would have thought, hang on a second, there's some contact there. He'll know that Andrew will be thinking about the fact that his car might have a bit of, the towing or tracking might be slightly out. It might not be comfortable. Maybe there's a bit of a vibration, or suspension is slightly knocked out of alignment. But it looks like just about Andrew is probably going to be able to hold off, despite the drama on the last couple of laps, for a race win in the first race of the season.
Yep, so over the start-finish line, the first win in the Woods Foodservices Porsche Club Motorsport Porsche Boxster Cup goes the way of Tom Andrew, who comes through to claim the win. Having been second in the early stage of the race, he will claim the win. Second place goes to the pole sitter Jonathan Lovell, who made that mistake at Redgate Corner, which cost him the lead of the race. And Vikram Sudera, is he going to still be there in third place? He was showing as being in third position, but actually now on this lap, I think it's gone back the way of Ashley White, who is going to finish in third place. Good fight still going on further down through the order. Sarah Thompson trying to work her way through traffic. That would be Zoe Carl-Henny. In fact, there goes Vikram Sudera over the start-finish line. He is going to finish fourth on the road. So I thought he was third over the start-finish line, but the results are showing him in fourth. So maybe he picked up a time penalty.
Potentially for track limits, as we mentioned earlier on. There are a few places which you can pick that up throughout the circuit. But look, number 90 coming over, Thompson and Bridges coming over really close together. They've had a bit of a ding-dong throughout the race, so it's good to see them still fighting right to the end.
Yeah, and the good thing is that we'll see them all back out later on today. But the man who is going to stand on the top step of the podium and be our first winner of the 2023 championship season is that man there, Tom Andrew. You could see, couldn't you, the swirl down the door of that car where that contact was made between himself and Paul Watson. So Paul Watson limping back to the pits with a broken toe link, and Tom Andrew, I would imagine, heart rate has probably started to come down now after that incident.
Just about. I suppose his heart rate probably peaked just as that incident happened. But yeah, a little bit of nerves for the last couple of laps, but managed to hold out. It was a great battle between the two at the front, Lovell and Andrew. And unfortunately, a small mistake from Lovell meant that he wasn't able to continue that battle right until the end of the race. But no, great racing in the Porsche Boxster Cup, and looking forward to the second race later on.
Yeah, well, Tom Andrew was scheduled to be sharing the car with Paul Andrew over the course of this weekend, but I think he's now doing both races solo, and even more so after the win. Let's confirm the results for you then for the first race of the season. It's Tom Andrew that claims the win by 2 seconds in the end from Jonathan Lovell in second place, and third place goes the way of Ashley White. Vikram Sudera was fourth ahead of Faye Noble Evans, who had a good run there in fifth position. Sarah Thompson, after a poor start, worked her way back into sixth place. Seventh place went the way of Eric Bridges. Eighth place was runner-up in last year's championship Mike Thompson, and it was Phil Graham and the car of Jessica Wilkinson that completed the top 10. 11th place was Zoe Kyle-Henny, and then in 12th position was Paul Watson, who retired to the pit lane with that broken toe link. And there were problems for Sarah Wood. Her pace not quite the same as the rest. She was a little bit further down through the order. So that's all from Piers Pryor and myself, Mark Werrell, for the Porsche Boxster Cup. Remember, we have their second race of the day coming up here at Donington Park, and that's going to be around about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So from all of us here at Donington Park, thanks for joining us for the first race of the season. We'll see you later on this afternoon. Goodbye.